to teach a race of children how to be very good, subservient little children forever. What had happened in 3,470 BC? While you had civilizations here, you had this draconian and Anunnaki thing happening, and Grail lines trying to hide here and there and everywhere. There is, let's say, the second foot fell. If the first foot was 25,500 BC, when they originally started to come in and mess with the DNA through the planetary grids, the next foot came in, big one, came in 3,470 BC. And this made a big difference. This is where it was like blank slate technology, test one. All right? Meaning they created alterations in the planetary grids again, using the Nibiru-endowed crystal grid system, which is a sonic wave distribution system that can direct the electromagnetics of the planet. They crashed the grids again. This was in the Tower of Babel incident. We talk about that in the Voyagers book a bit. And they completely scrambled the languages at that point. Now, if you mess with the magnetic grids here, and science here is just starting to figure this out, that DNA is very sensitive to magnetic fields. So, if you mess with the magnetic field on a planet, you will alter the DNA. And the Anunnaki knew that. They went for a clean sweep in 3,470 BC. They'd done the flood before that, but people were still remembering enough of the history. They still had oral tradition. They were speaking the Mahabharata texts, which were the books from the CDD plates, the founders' teachings. There were still enough Grail lines left that we were teaching our children, and they were teaching their children. They were spreading the word that this is what is really going on here. And it was starting to create rebellion in the Leviathan races, where they didn't want to follow their old creator gods that they had to like worship things for and like, kill things and, do that kind of thing. They were starting to listen. The Leviathan races were starting to listen to the Grey Line races and saying, yeah, I don't like living this way. I don't like having to cut heads off sheep all the time to make them happy. We don't have to do that? It's like, no. Oh, okay. So they were starting to listen and wanting to be re-educated. They were wanting to re-enter the Emerald Covenant. And this quite upset the fallen angelic races. Wait a minute, they're our soldiers. You can't have them. They orchestrated the Tower of Babel incident in order to, they almost caused pole shift, but didn't quite. It nudged it a little bit. I believe that's where we picked up our wobble from, the combination between that and the one from, where they did the flood. Before that, we got our wobble on our axis from that. But they created the mutation in the DNA by blocking certain things in the planetary grids. I'll explain this one really quick. There's something called vector codes in the DNA template, and there's supposed to be 12 vector codes in the whole DNA template, but they repeat in sets of 12, but they are the same, like 12 particular codes, each one for each of 12 dimensions. All right? The first thing they did in 25,500 BC was block out of the planetary grids 9 through 12. So it shut off that part of the DNA. What they did in 3,470 BC was they ran a polarization program through the planetary grids, which shut off another half, but first they polarized it. So you had 8 left. They polarized those and shut off half of each, leaving what's called a base 4 genetic alphabet. When that happened, it completely fragmented our memory banks. People literally woke up and didn't know who they were and didn't know how to speak anymore. They couldn't speak. They didn't have the sequencing for the languages that they used, the Atlantean languages. So they were ripe for the picking. They were ripe to come in and reteach them. The gods would come in and teach them new languages, and they would teach them new ways of being and how to worship them again. And that's what they did. It was planetary. It wasn't just here in Greece. It wasn't just in Egypt. It happened across the board. And this is where the indigos and the Great Lines ended up going down too. Our DNA was messed up too. We didn't remember either. So it was very easy. At this point, you have a bunch of people who used to be very intelligent that haven't a clue anymore. It's like they're all on Thorazine, walking around, and they don't even know how to talk anymore. They can't even talk to themselves, forget to talk to each other.